after he talked about the immigration bill, which is going through Parliament today. No guesses as to what he thinks about that. I'd love to hear from you whether it's your children going back to school, whether it's transport in London and who you hold responsible, what impact that's going to have on your life. And certainly, and this is not a moan, right? So my child is going, when he does go to big school, to a school that requires him to get on public transport. I hadn't considered the cost. Lucky enough, I think we might be able to carry it, but there are some people messaging who have twins, who have different children of secondary school age, who are now going to have to find quite a lot of money. It does pose challenges, and I'd like to hear your thoughts, please, on the mental health, National Mental Health Awareness Week. And it's something we're going to pay some time to here on Drive Time tonight. So anytime you like, if you'd like to pick up on any of those stories, including whether or not my 11-year-old should have any say in whether he goes back to school on the 2nd of June, 0800 731 2000. What about what you just heard from the doctor there on taste and smell? See, I knew it, because I never look. Taste and smell, those are my two good. Anyway, I can't go into that because it's not that kind of show. But I knew there was something wrong. prophecy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, I really cannot prove whether that is the truth or not, but, I think, as you said, it is an important and it's a very intense change to make people not use their cars anymore and walk when possible, because obviously, we're also trying to overcrowd the transport, the tubes, the buses.
Yeah, well, now it's even more difficult because we're running them, but we don't want people to use them.
Yeah, but I think that, this is my personal point of view, that everyone within a 45, 50-minute walk radius around the city of London should try and walk or take a bike.
Well, I got to tell you, Pedro, I did a drive, so between 9 and 11, they told us a week ago, and today I went to Halford with my 2 children and 3 bikes. They aren't allowing anybody in. I'm sure there are other bike shops. I'm telling you the one I went to. So they weren't allowing anybody in. They stood at the door. They asked what was wrong with the bike. I said, well, if I knew, I'd fix it myself. That wasn't very helpful. He didn't smile. It cost me 45 quid. By the time I got home, he was phoning me to come back. But it was interesting the way that things had changed. And I've been looking for new careers past this challenge. One of them might be to get an SIA badge, because there was a security guard there, and I think there'll be more of those at particular places. Now, the coronavirus testing regime is being expanded.
Everyone aged 5 and over with symptoms is now eligible for a test. That applies right across the UK in all 4 nations from now.
Now, prior to that announcement from the Health Secretary Matt Hancock, only key workers and the people that live with those were eligible. While also today, loss of smell and taste, like I had been added to the UK's list of coronavirus symptoms people should look out for and self-isolate with. Until now, only fever, cough were triggers for those people to shut themselves away in self-isolation in case they had the virus and could spread the infection. The head of epidemiology at Hong Kong University and consultant to the World Health Organization, Professor Benjamin Cowling, says the symptoms are not new.
There were reports going back all the way to January that loss of sense of taste or smell was a symptom reported by many COVID-19 patients in different parts of the world. So I don't know why it's taken until now for that to be added to the list.
So, I have Dr. Sarah Jarvis, GP and Clinical Director of PatientAccess.com on the line. Let's do the bit that we need to do first. Because sometimes you come on here grumpy and miserable and you take it out on me. What kind of day are you having today?
Impossible. I'm having a wonderful day because I knew I was speaking to you.
Right. Look, well, I don't know what kind of day I'm having because you know this, I lost my sense of taste. I lost my sense of smell. I went and I looked like you people tell me not to, and I googled it. I could see that 7 out of 10 people who were presenting had this as a symptom. It was part of my isolation. They say use common sense. It appears that I have more common sense than these professionals.
So no, I absolutely hear what you're saying. What's interesting is that this is a symptom we've known about for really some considerable time. So I think about 4 weeks ago I wrote a piece on patient.info about is loss of sense of smell a sign of coronavirus? And the answer was pretty categorically yes. However, the issue we had is how much was it going to add to what we knew already, and how much was it going to increase the likelihood that the right people would be told to self-isolate. So a lot of mathematical modelling had to be done. They had to work out whether, for instance, people who had loss of sense of smell were likely to have it early or late in their symptoms, whether they were likely to have it in addition to fever or cough, or whether they were likely to have it on its own ever, and whether adding it in would result in a lot of people who didn't have coronavirus, more people who didn't have coronavirus, having to self-isolate compared to just fever and cough. So they've now gone through all of that, and the mathematical modelling suggests that by using fever and cough, we're going to pick up about 91% of people who have coronavirus. Now, clearly, there are some people who don't have any symptoms at all, some people who just have the slightly more unusual symptoms, whether that's just profound tiredness without a fever, whether that's severe muscle aches, whether that's diarrhea and so on. And there are some skin rashes which are now coming to the fore. So the idea was that we wanted to increase the sensitivity. So at the moment we reckon we're picking up about 91% of people. By adding this into the mix, we probably get to about 93% of people. And for that reason, it has now been added as one of the symptoms.
And the thing about you scientists is that we are led to believe that science is absolute, and it isn't, is it? Certainly not in something that you don't properly understand. And that's why common sense, caution, and people like me who are naturally nervous are kind of interested in a moment like this.
So no doctor ever says anything is absolute, ever, because there are always exceptions. When we do studies, we have very strict criteria, and we look at what...
I tell you what, get your vitamin D in. I'm not a doctor, but take your top off, get in the garden and get the vitamin D in. I'm doing some studies on vitamins. A GP's telling me that between March and September, and I know outside of those times, you should be topping it up, and because lots of us have been in the house, it can't be a bad thing. I will ask the GP who comes on later, because we do have one of those. We also have a psychologist coming on, because we know we are in a moment, it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and I know it's really difficult for people to talk. I do these COVID confessions things, and I get lots and lots of, not always the ones I want, but lots of response to them. But the one that I've got the least response to is the one that makes you the most vulnerable. Interestingly enough, it was something that I had a chance to talk to the Mayor of London about. It really vulnerable, really acknowledged that, you know, there were a lot of us that were struggling, including at moments he himself. So we'll play more of that interview for you. At the minute, we're focusing on transport. Lots of us would have travelled today, though I am told by those that have the numbers, i.e. Rob Oxley, that not as many people travelled as might have been expected. I'd love to know your thoughts. We talked to the Mayor in the first hour of the show about basically having one arm tied behind his back, him not being the mayor he wants to be. Nigel from Temple Fortune laying the blame, such as there is, squarely at his feet in terms of his history, indicates that he's not a big lover of the car. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, what you did, where you went, and how you feel. We'll expand it, develop it, and talk about other things as well. Getting a lot of messages, you know, for me, the ongoing conversation is about my children, right? In regards to them traveling, and now the 11-year-old having to pay because that's been taken away. But more importantly, whether or not they go to school on the 2nd. I mean, this is how important it is. I've said I'll take the day off on the 5th, which is my birthday, and I'll stay home. I'll take them, I'll do whatever they want. But the 11-year-old seems to now think, after hearing me talk to his mum, that he should have some say in exactly what happens on the 2nd, whether he goes back to school or not. Jeez, the world has changed. You think I could have said to my mum and dad, I'd like a say in what happened? 0800 731 2000. Have you consulted, talked to your child about whether they're going back on the 2nd, by the way? Text 81333, start your message with the word London. I did talk about at the start of Mental Health Awareness Week. According to the Office for National Statistics, almost half of us say we felt anxious during the lockdown, and the suicide prevention program has been almost seen almost 500,000 people complete an online training course in the past 3 weeks. The program, run by Zero Suicide Allowance, aims to improve awareness of the signs that somebody is suicidal and how to provide help. BBC London's Rob Oxley has more.
The service was formed in 2017. It's a mix of NHS trusts, charities and others, with the aim to eliminate all suicides in the UK. Now, up until late April, about 545,000 people had accessed their online suicide prevention course. Since the lockdown, a further 503,000 people have completed the programme. It comes as a warning from a group of senior medics. The NHS Clinical Leaders Network say that the health service should start preparing now for a new influx of mental health illness among NHS staff and other frontline workers as a result of COVID-19.
Oh, you don't even think about it. Those people have been working at maximum capacity for months now. They would have seen things the rest of us won't even imagine. They've had to go home and it's become normalised, tied away somewhere. They weren't even on my radar. I was busy tweeting David Harewood, who's just reminding us, I think it's tomorrow night, 11:30, I'll clear that up. He came on a year ago to talk about his mental health challenges. You know, him on Supergirl and all of that, big American star now, but he it smelled nice down there. It smelled completely different. So there's some kind of deep clean happening at the BBC today. And I can tell you, there's not anybody that I recognise as white and English cleaning the floors, cleaning the lift, looking after the tables. In any team that I have ever seen in 18 years. And I'm guessing it wouldn't be that dissimilar if I went to the police station, if I went to the NHS hospitals. But what does that mean? Does that mean that they're not doing it because we can't get it? Because some foreigners come in and they're doing it cheaper? Is it like the plumbing or the building? Or is it because, like, when my mum came and she said that, you know, she was coming to do jobs that people clearly just didn't want to do? I don't know. Help me. Help me to understand this immigration bill and where we are. Talk to me about mental health, because it's Mental Health Awareness Week. I've got lots of emails. I don't know why I'm not reading them. I just feel like it's a talking day. That's wrong, isn't it? People have taken the time to send emails. Oh, you don't have to agree with me, Rob. For goodness sake. I think there's going to be a vacancy here soon. 0800 731 2000. It's not going to be Rob's job. I think it's going to be mine. Okay, Tom, I'm coming. Let me just get through this. Wouldn't it be possible, Ed, for us to do something similar to Rome, where every car driver is given a day where they are not permitted to enter central Rome, thus making traffic less every day? Wouldn't they do something like that in Paris, if you the alternative numbers or something like that? I guess if you look at London, actually, that it's so congested, they are going to have to do something now, or reduce the number of Uber cabs. Did I say that? I mean, it's not an opinion. Oh, don't be ridiculous. Rob shouting in my ear said he hasn't got who licensed them? Hey, come on. Aren't there too many, by the way? Do you find it easy to get a cab? After spending a week.
I work in a warehouse, and a lot of what we do is, I mean, we get great big containers that come in, containers around the
I've had to do that. I called all attendants around. So it was two of us, and there were boxes, and we had to unpack a 40. It's not fun, is it?
It's not.
It's not. Have you got a belt? Have you got something to look after your back?
I should have really.
Dave, come on. I don't mean to be the moaning mini, but we've got to look after you, mate, because if you think it's bad now, imagine if you're sitting at home, you ain't got any food, you ain't got any money, you're miserable then. We want to sort it out. That's not what you phoned me up for, though, Dave.
No. When you was talking about mental health, I think about that quite a lot, because some of us have outlets for it, and some of us just like to sort of like bottle things up, and well, maybe not like to, but we do.
Blokes,
we do anyway.
Dave. If we're going to have the conversation, I'm going to put it on the line and tell you, as a bloke, it does not make me feel good. I would never phone up my mate and go, I'm struggling a bit. I would not do it. I might say it to a woman. I don't know why, the relationship that I have, and I'm sorry if I upset anybody by saying it. It's not the sort of thing us blokes do, because you're supposed to be strong, virile, coping. That's your position in life, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right there, Eddie. I think, you have to kind of conform to a certain stereotype, don't we?
No, we don't. We feel as though we do, but the point of me trying to talk about it today is that we want to challenge it, you and I. To whom and how many times have you ever said, I'm really struggling today?
I don't know, probably quite a few times. I've probably done it with a couple of workmates from time to time, where I've just found things just too much. And I've certainly felt that way just lately. I feel like I'm hitting a wall. You know what I'm saying?
So your pressure is not financial. Let's just clear that up first.
No, my pressure's not financial. No. And my heart goes out to anybody who's is.
No, it's a different. Yeah, but I mean, it's a different kind of pressure, isn't it? What do you do then? What do you do? Have you put stuff in place?
No, I don't deal with things very well. I'll own up to that. I don't deal with things.
Yeah, but no, you're making it sound like it's a bigger thing than perhaps it needs. Do you like music?
I do like music, yeah.
Well, you put on it. Who's rocking it for you right now?
The legendary Pink Dots.
Right. Well, whoever they are, why don't you join them? Yeah, you like the way I did. And what about a walk? When's the last time you took a walk?
I I don't walk quite so often nowadays because my legs aren't what they were. But I do love walking when I can get out.
What about the bike? I fixed 3 of them today.
No. I've once upon a time I used to cycle, but I wouldn't trust myself on the road now, and I don't trust a lot of drivers either. There's too many.
When's the last time you drove out to a park with a pond?
I went to a pond today actually, and
how did you feel? How did you feel? I find water very soothing, I've got to say. You steer in the water?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Just listen to this next lady I'm going to talk to, because she's been with me in one way, shape, or form for more than a decade now, and she's been listening. Dave, you are one of my most regular contributors, and I just want to give you a few tips about what perhaps we can do, either when we're in a minute or we don't want to get in a minute. Emma Kenny's a psychologist. How are you, Emma?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Well, I used to introduce you as a child psychologist. Dave's not a child. I feel, does your other half say to you, I'm feeling rubbish today? Can you recognise it? Because as a bloke, it's not what we do, Emma.
I think that men are shown statistically to be less able to express their feelings, and that's why we see the suicide rates being higher for males. It's not that women also find it easy to express the way they feel, it's just easier. So I think we all humanly struggle with expressing the fact that things aren't good for us, because what you said before is very true. A lot of us feel that that's an admission of weakness. It isn't, but it feels like that, and it feels vulnerable to actually say to somebody, I'm struggling. You're first of all acknowledging how you feel, but secondly, you're giving them permission to see a part of you that you might not feel altogether comfortable with. So it feels risky, but of course the consequence of that is most people who do say to others, I'm struggling, get such a great response, and also get a connection, because it gives permission for the other person to say, yeah, I struggle sometimes too. That's kind of where intimacy and close bonds grow. So as opposed to it being something that should make us feel afraid, it should be something that we do with our close allies, because it actually encourages us to feel better in our lives and better in our bonds.
On my pages we talk about girls. We put naked pictures up. We talk about football. We have jokes that you could never tell in real life. And feeling vulnerable and saying, sometimes I don't see the point in life. It's not what we do with each other.
But that's the issue, though. Because so the issue is, if we see that that's the problem, and then we don't alter the behaviour, then the problem just becomes a bigger problem and a wider problem. There has to be a shift. So you can't arguably say to people, well, I'm a man, therefore that's not what we do. But the production of that and not doing that is suicide, which is what we're talking about in that relationship. So it comes down to making that shift. And if you're listening tonight, and for example, you call that, I was just listening, and
he's listening. Dave's listening.
I could hear that Dave was going through quite a few different things. You know, he's got the physical, which is really difficult when your body's not working effectively for you. He's been facing quite a lot of anxiety because he's not knowing what's been happening. He's been facing things every day with work. You know, there's been a culmination, and that dread and flip in his tummy, which is anxiety, but not necessarily knowing what to do with it. And you said some really important things, which are, have you been out for a walk? Have you been and sat by water? And have you connected with nature? They're things that actually are really important stalwarts of dealing with anxiety. But there are other things, you know, breath work, very easy to learn, but very effective. But also the biggest one is sharing. You know, we have organisations like Anxiety UK. They have free phone lines, and they're not there for people in crisis. They are there as well for that. But there's this kind of misconception in our society, Eddie, and that is that we have to be in crisis to ask for help. And actually, any practitioner would say, I want you asking for help when you just feel a little bit uneasy.
You say that, but everything in society... My mum used to say something to me as a child, which was, prevention is better than cure. But throughout my adult life, I have seen us wait for the cure as opposed to the prevention.
I think you're absolutely right. I also do think that that's part of our Western society problem. I really do. I think that we use phrases like it takes a village to raise a child, but I don't really think that we institute that a great deal in the UK. I think that communities are where we should cradle people who are struggling, and we should know how to do that before we get to, you know, a really acute period of mental illness. But right now, if we haven't got that right here, we have to start fundamentally making shifts to create that. And we do have people like Calm, you know, Anxiety UK, OCD UK, all of these organisations and charities. The bigger question is, why haven't we really instituted services and provision for people before they get to that stage so that they feel that they're entitled to it? And that's a wider discussion that hopefully...
But that's in mental and physical health.
And physical health, yeah. I mean, and mental and physical health are to some degree exactly the same. It kind of worries me. And lots of people have got different opinions on this, but to put myself on the line, the idea that, you know, mental and physical are different and distinct just doesn't make sense. Your head is part of your body, your brain is part of your body, your emotions are part of who you are. And actually we need to see, without your mind working appropriately and accurately and at the best, your body can't. So the idea that we play a second fiddle, and we do, anybody knows who works in mental health provision is dreadful. So therefore we play a second fiddle to the most primary important part of who we are, which is our emotions and our mind. And I think that this really strangely, in some bizarre way, this virus situation has done quite a lot to promote people thinking important issues around their own mental wellness. And I think for the first time, like Youth Call has just been talking about, he's realised that he's feeling anxious, and a lot of people are having those primary experiences. So maybe finally society is going to say mental health is an issue, we all face it, let's do something positive about it.
One second, Emma, I think Dave's still listening. Dave, are you there? Dave?
We lost Dave.
I think we've lost Dave. Don't worry. Oh, he's here. Can you give a message, please, directly to Dave?
Yeah, I mean, Dave, what you talk about when you say about getting up and that feeling of dread in your belly, that's an anxiety feeling. So what you're dealing with is anxiety, and it's good to give it a name. So that interpretation about getting up and going out and getting on with your life, that comes from that response. I mean, there's a really good part of what you're doing, which is you've just carried on regardless, but I think you could do more to manage it, some of which Eddie was saying, which is doing that nice self-care work, but also things like diaphragmatic breathing can really help with that feeling of dread. And also, I know it's old to say this, but seriously, just saying to somebody, I'm feeling anxious, and even speaking to your healthcare provider and just talking about it and giving it a name, that's when you really start to work through and process things. Anxiety isn't there to teach you anything but calm. So the anxiety is an emotional prompt. It's saying, I feel a bit stressed and uncomfortable, I feel a little bit frustrated, or it doesn't feel nice. I'm being taught to go and seek calm. So anything that can bring that from, as Eddie said, walking, going and sitting by a pond, or also yoga.
Always run out of time when I speak to you. I'm so sorry, Dave. Hopefully that helped. I'll be back here tomorrow. Here is Ori. That's right, here is Ori. Thank you, Eddie. Great show. We got the scene coming up in literally a couple of minutes. Just after the news, we got some great guests I'm going to talk to over the phone. One set of guests that we have come for our amazing upload initiative.
overcrowding. Government plans to impose a 14-day quarantine on travellers arriving from abroad have been described as idiotic by the chief executive of Ryanair. Michael O'Leary says there's no scientific basis for the idea, but denies that the airline is encouraging passengers to flout the rules.
I don't think so. I mean, we don't have. I think what happens is that a 14-day, as the government puts more meat on the bones of an unimplementable, unmanageable, and unpoliceable 14-day lockdown, people will simply ignore something that is so hopelessly defective.
An online version of the Chelsea Flower Show has opened in place of the real event, which has been cancelled because of the pandemic. Many designers have transformed their own gardens for the virtual show this year. King gardener Catherine Robinson says it's been a great substitute so far.
Well, I think it's an absolute wonderful asset to have that we've got it all here at our fingertips, virtual. Still, we will get the inspiration, although we can't actually visit.
BBC News, it's 3 minutes past 8.
This is London. This